Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Hubar begins now.
Good evening, everyone. The mother and grandfather of one of the 5 children killed in the Devonport jumping castle tragedy have spoken out, thanking community members for their tributes as well as first responders for trying to save 12-year-old Zane. The Prime Minister and his wife also paying their respects at Hillcrest as the state government temporarily bans jumping castles at schools.
His mother carrying his primary school uniform with Zane's name on it and the PlayStation controller he loved to play with.
I just needed to see what everyone had done and I appreciate it so much, but nothing brings my baby home.
Zane had been looking forward to Christmas, his presents already under the tree.
And it's going to be hard because I have all these Christmas presents and we've opened some of them and just sat them up for him. And
holding the pillow Zane slept on at his family's shack. His grandfather Richard Gardam still struggling to comprehend the loss of his grandson, thankful for the first responders who assisted.
I just want to say again to them police and those that run to my boy, it was too late, but I thank you very much for the assistance and everything that you've provided.
Carissa Maney and her family travelling from Launceston, the mother shaken by the unimaginable pain of those impacted.
Heartbroken. This is so sad. It's tragic. I've got children of my own and I couldn't even imagine how the family's feeling.
A counsellor has been here for the past 3 days helping those paying tribute cope with their grief. Support is also being offered to Hillcrest students, but at neighbouring schools, so they don't have to return here. The Prime Minister and his wife arriving this afternoon to pay their respects to the 5 children who died, pledging $800,000 of federal funding for mental health crisis support.
They will need time, they will need stillness and they'll need quiet. And they'll need those closest to them in their own families to be throwing their arms around them and weeping with them.
The state government giving $500,000 for counselling and to help first responders. And a GoFundMe page set up by 18-year-old Zoe Smith has surpassed $1 million. The money will be transferred into a newly established public fund, making it easier to equally distribute it to the families impacted.
I think it just proves how shaken up everyone is and how tight-knit of a community we are and how much it truly has affected people because everyone just wants to help.
We urge our community, if they want a practical way to support those families, this will be a legitimate, trustworthy place that they can go to.
A community with a long road to recovery, united in their support for one another. Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
A teenager has tested positive to COVID-19 in Launceston after receiving a notification from New South Wales Health instructing him to get tested. But despite a growing list of exposure sites in the state, Premier Peter Gutwein is urging Tasmanians not to be alarmed by the news.
The state's borders have been open for just 3 days, but during that time, 4 COVID cases have already been identified.
We've had another case. It's in the north of the state.
A teenager who travelled to the state on Thursday, testing positive after receiving a notification from New South Wales Health that he'd been in an exposure site. JB Hi-Fi and JJ City Cafe now among local exposure sites, still reeling from the news. We are absolutely devastated for our staff and customers who were in the store at the time of contact, as they'll now have to quarantine in the week before Christmas. But the Premier is calling for calm.
We expected that this would occur. We have planned for this.
We're past the time when we would just talk about case numbers. That is not the trigger for other decisions.
It hasn't deterred customers from their Christmas shopping.
It's just going to have to learn to live with it.
Every time I go out work, I just wear one all the time. I feel naked when I don't have it now.
As the risk of COVID grows, Robert Pennicott acknowledges it's a balancing act for most businesses.
We're still on a bit of a knife edge, that there's going to be a few hiccups. The key will be to have your risk assessments in well and minimise any shutdowns.
He's still excited to finally welcome back interstate visitors.
Good to catch up with our daughter who's living here for a couple of years, so no, it was great. just to get out in the boat and see a bit more different scenery.
Yeah, it's really fun to come across the borders finally.
Tourists seeing the sights and soaking up the sun at Mona.
Nice weather, it's been great.
Great to be in Tassie and supporting, I guess, Australia after everyone's been doing it tough, particularly the tourism industry.
Now hoping the much-needed tourism boost isn't short-lived. Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
And to some breaking news now, Hawthorn will host Richmond in the northwest to show its support for the Devonport tragedy. The tribute match will be held on Saturday, March 5 for the families and community of Hillcrest Primary School. The two teams last played one another in Devonport around 20 years ago. Australia's newest Antarctic icebreaker, the RSV Nuinya, is ready for her first voyage. The vessel will undertake world-leading scientific research from the depths of the Southern Ocean over the next 3 decades.
She's mighty in size and can traverse the toughest seas, and today Australia's newest icebreaker was officially unveiled. The Prime Minister, Premier and dignitaries in Hobart to officially launch the RSV Nuinya.
There is no more advanced polar research vessel in the world.
At 25,000 tonnes and 160 metres in length, the $528 million vessel will spend the next 30 years scouring the depths of the Antarctic, capable of highly sophisticated research.
We'll be taking sea samples as we progress south. We'll be undertaking atmospheric testing using the equipment on board the ship. And we've loaded on board the ship a series of modular science containers.
Navigating her way through the depths of oceans and ice, Nuinya will operate as the main lifeline to Australia's research stations.
What this will do is underpin the benefits of the Antarctic program and Hobart being the gateway to the Antarctic for decades to come.
There are scientists that will be travelling on this ship that haven't been born yet. And there is science that we will be doing on this ship that we don't even know about.
Carrying 1.9 million litres of bunkered fuel, the Nuinya is capable of resupplying 2 research stations in one trip and can last 90 days at sea, something her predecessor, the Aurora Australis, could never achieve.
We can send her on major science voyages to places that we haven't been to for 20 years, on the East Antarctic continent, at Heard Island, throughout the Southern Ocean.
Nuinya embarks on her maiden voyage in 2 days' time. Ainsley Kosh, 7 Tasmania News.
Supporters of Susan Neil-Fraser have rallied on Parliament lawns 2.5 weeks after the Hobart grandmother lost an appeal against her murder conviction. Her daughter says it remains unclear whether she will apply for parole when she becomes eligible next year.
Continuing to be where she is until she is fully acquitted will be a more desirable option for her. I think there's a lot of fear, and I don't think that Mum wants to be out in the community with that hanging over her.
Sue Neil-Fraser was sentenced to 23 years in prison after she was found guilty of murdering her long-term partner Bob Chappell in 2009. The family is still considering whether to seek special leave to appeal to the High Court. A new international exhibition has landed at Mona as the museum welcomes back interstate visitors. Created with industrial-coated steel and hydraulic systems, James Capper's Prototypes of Speculative Engineering features robotic mobile sculptures alongside film works.
It's looking at James's ideas of how humans or animals have evolved and what machines might be able to evolve into.
The exhibition will run until May 2022, with all visitors required to be fully vaccinated. The Derwent Ferry has embarked on its first Saturday service as part of its summer timetable between Bellreeve and Brook Street Pier. Hobart City Council has injected funding into the service to help assist local businesses during the pandemic. As part of the Saturday service, passengers can ride for free, even without a Metro green card or bicycle.
Good evening everyone. A warm day with scattered showers today, with Hobart reaching 32 degrees, 27 in Launceston, Burnie 26 and 23 in Devonport. Friendly Beach is the state's top today of 33 degrees, Flinders Island and Grove 32, 30 in St Helens, Strahan 25 and 22 in Low Head. High cloud can be seen moving across the state today, which contained embedded thunderstorms ahead of a weakening frontal cloud band. Further out, a weak frontal cloud band is over the southwest of Western Australia. Patchy cloud is evident elsewhere, although it is generally clear over the remainder of Western Australia. Tomorrow, another cold front is nearing Tasmania, with a trough extending from northwestern Western Australia to the northeast of Tasmania. Northeast to northwesterly winds tomorrow 10 to 20 knots, increasing to 20 to 30 knots about the west early in the morning. And there is a gale warning current for Banks Strait, Franklin Sound and the east of Flinders Island, and a strong wind warning for remaining coastal waters including Central Plateau Lakes and southeast inshore waters. 25 in Hobart and Ouse tomorrow, a shower or two, and 26 in Richmond. Launceston 22 with developing showers, Devonport 19, 18 the top for Deloraine. Burnie and Curry both reaching 19 degrees tomorrow, developing showers, and 21 in Strawn. And in the east of the state, developing showers and 23 in St Helens and Swansea and 22 degrees in Whitemark. And the UV tomorrow is extreme across the state with sunset expected at 8:45 p.m. On Monday, showers about the west and far south extending to remaining districts during the day. Showers about the west and far south on Tuesday, otherwise mainly fine. And on Wednesday, those showers continuing, extending to central areas. 26 in Perth tomorrow, 22 in Adelaide and Melbourne, possible afternoon storms, and 36 in Sydney, Cairns 33 and 35 in Darwin. And it's currently partly cloudy across the state with Hobart and Devonport both 24 degrees and still 26 in Launceston. And Lou, that's all in weather tonight.
Wonderful, thank you for that, Chelsea. And that's all your news for this Saturday evening. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a lovely night. Good night.